The Committee of Job Growth and Energy Affordability will come to order. What we're going to do today, ladies and gentlemen, is as soon as we get a quorum, we're going to approve the minutes. Just a little plan for how the day is going to work. Number one, we are not going to be voting on anything today. We're going to be hearing public testimony to get through the substance of this bill. The House does go into session today at 11 a.m. This committee will recess at about 10:02 so that the members can get upstairs and be in session. We will then reconvene after session is done. I will make an announcement on the floor to let folks know. I'm guessing session will probably be 15, maybe 20 minutes or so. It shouldn't be a real long session, so that's the plan. We'll reconvene after session. Also, members and folks from the audience here, the deadline for amendments to this bill is 3 o'clock today, just for your information. What we're going to do, I'm going to call forth some testifiers here. We've got a lot of folks that want to speak. Some of them have driven quite a distance. So what the plan is we're going to try to limit member questions unless it's absolutely critical. Try to let the testifiers get through their information. Testifiers, if we could keep it, I would like you to have your goal be about 3 minutes tops, if you can. If you look at the list, it's not going to take long for us to go many hours into testimony if we don't. And with that, we'll bring Dan Dorman down. You're up first. Melissa Ron, you're on deck. And John Duklik, you are after Melissa. And with that, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Dan Dorman. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Minnesota Partnership. We represent about 90 different members throughout Greater Minnesota and work exclusively on economic development issues. Wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of things in the bill that we're very happy to see there, starting with the BDPI, or the Greater Minnesota
Excuse me,
Business.
Mr. Dorman, you need to pull that microphone a little closer to you.
Okay, how's that, Mr. Chair?
One more time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
All right,
7.
it's better, yeah.
A little closer. All right, here I can go.
Oh, yeah, we heard that.
There you go. Okay, I'll lean in close. The BDPI, or Business Development Public Infrastructure Program, is funded in the bill at $1.3 million through 2021. This is the cash portion of a program that is also carried in the bonding bill that provides needed infrastructure. There is an appropriate carve-out in the bill for a project in Thief River Falls that makes sense, and so we're really happy to see that included. The workforce housing section of the bill, particularly the grant program, we're very excited to see that after working on this issue for several years. And I think the best thing to say about it is for a lot of communities in Greater Minnesota, continuing to do what we've done for 10 or 15 or 20 years with some slight variations really hasn't made a big difference. So we're really excited to see what we think is a new approach to this, more of a market-based approach to trying to solve the workforce housing crisis in Greater Minnesota, which is holding back our economic development. The changes in the job training program, there's a job incentive program in the bill that is funded at $900,000 a year for 18 and 19, then bumps up to $1.36 million. This is a relatively new program, but if you have an opportunity, if you haven't seen it, take a look at where the grants are going. Most of them are going to small and mid-sized manufacturers in Greater Minnesota that hopefully will grow and become much larger. So that program is really working very well, Mr. Chair. Those are the areas that we're really happy to see. We think it's a step in the right direction. And with that, I'll cease my comments unless you have any questions.
No, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next up is Melissa Ron. Melissa, are you here? All right, not seeing Melissa, we'll put her on hold. How about John?
We're here.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Michael Zabel, President and CEO of True Shrimp Company in Ballatin, Minnesota, a affiliate of Ralco Nutrition Incorporated out of Marshall.
Welcome to the committee. Please proceed with your testimony.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm here representing an opportunity. I believe it's in your bill, it's page 64, section 3, shrimp production incentive. This incentive is designed to assist in the building of a shrimp aquaculture industry here in Minnesota. The company that I represent has developed a technology to be able to grow shrimp indoors efficiently, safely, and traceable. This industry, once given an opportunity to grow, we had a University of Minnesota Extension do an economic impact study for us. One of our shrimp production facilities is called a harbor, and that harbor is quite large. It covers 9 acres and will grow about 8 million pounds of shrimp a year. The economic contribution, that just the building of that harbor, would be $48 million, affect 330 people employment, and an estimated income of about $14 million. In addition, the Extension Service went on and said, what would be the economic contribution of that harbor ongoing year in and year out? And there they estimated to be about $30 million a year, employing 124 both directly and indirectly, with an annual payroll of over $6 million. We are building a complete industry. The company that I work with, we are going to supply the feed, the post-larva, which is the small shrimp. We're also going to do the processing, sales, and marketing. Processing today will be done in Marshall, Minnesota. Our feed supplier is New Vision Co-op out of Worthington, Minnesota. We estimate we'll use 15 million pounds of feed annually, and over 45% of that feed is soy and soy derivatives. In the Extension Service study, they thought we could impact the price of a bushel of soybeans by 5 to 15 cents with just one harbor. And the idea, of course, is to build an industry with multiple harbors across the entire state of Minnesota. I'd like to introduce Mr. Jim Sieben, please.
Yeah, Jim Sieben.
State your name for the record. Thank you.
Jim Sieben, President of Novatech Engineering and President of Midwest Technology Campus out in Wilmer, Minnesota.
Proceed with your testimony.
So when we, 5 years ago, when we were looking at our plans to diversify, presently we are in the poultry industry that we make products for. We are a robotics company that takes complex issues and converts them to processes that work for the industry. Today we are in 49 countries. We are bumping $30 million a year. 67% of our revenue comes from outside of the country, and 90% of our revenue comes from outside of the state of Minnesota. When we were evaluating the idea of doing the shrimp processing, we did a full global evaluation of the shrimp markets and what is out there. Today, there is not a good processing equipment out there at all. And the industry has done much with labor, much of it is slave labor, and we are looking at putting a product out there that will allow us to expand not only from the True Shrimp production facility, but fully international as we are presently doing our hatchery products.
All right, thank you for your testimony. Members, if you have a critical question, we'll take a quick one here. Representative Mahoney.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of things I want to talk about, and then I want to ask a question. You're limiting testimony to 3 minutes, but many of these bills have not been heard at all in committee. So I do want to encourage people, if they have a question about a bill, particularly if it has not been heard in committee, that we should question this. And the 3-minute limit is, unless you're just expecting this bill to not have any legs once it hits the governor's office, and then it's just a charade. The other thing is it okay for us, if we have amendments, to get them emailed or email you the outline of the amendment by 3 o'clock? Seems how we're going to be in committee all day or on the floor. How do you want to do that?
Representative Mahoney, I had conferred with Representative Chair Garofalo last night, and then just reconnecting here with staff. We're going to follow the standard procedures. They need to be in by 3 o'clock. We're going to keep it that way. Also, your comment about limiting testimony for bills that we haven't heard, you make a valid point. We will entertain additional testimony and some questions if we need to. But again, it's just how late you want to be here. We have folks that have driven quite a distance. I understand that there are some questions that you need to have answered. Some questions can be answered offline. If we're able to do that, we will in the essence of time. If it's a question that can't be answered offline or followed up with a letter or an email to committee members, then we'll go ahead and vet that here. But let's try to keep that in mind, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And now to my question.
Representative Mahoney.
You know, the shrimp incentive is somewhere in the area of $50 to $60 million. And you've said 124 jobs. That cannot be the total jobs that you're talking about. I would like to have an understanding of how many jobs this bill, this $60 million over however many years is, I think it's 10 or 11 years, will affect. Because if it's just 127 jobs at a $60 million subsidy, that's about, I thought it was like in the area of, well, I'll give it to you in a minute. Come on, I love this. $483,870,000 per subsidy per job. That is something we as a state can't do. So I need to understand, and I think the committee and the public need to understand what the subsidy of a job is. This is getting into Iron Range areas here, so.
To the testifier.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you, Representative Mahoney, for the question. The 124 jobs is for the harbor and the harbor alone, and each harbor will have 124 direct and indirect. To support that harbor, there has to be a hub or a center of excellence, and inside that hub, there is a genetic facility, there'll be multiple hatcheries, a processing facility, a sales and marketing and distribution organization, plus a laboratory. In Balaton, Minnesota, we built a state-of-the-art shrimp laboratory. That laboratory already employs 17 people, and we estimate that the hub alone will be 120 people employed. And then every harbor that we add, and of course that's the idea behind the incentive, will add additional people not only to the harbor, but also to the hub as the industry grows. And I'd like to,
Yeah,
Mr. Seaman, to talk about employment outside the company.
Yeah, if I could add that.
To the testifier.
I'm sorry. If I could add to that, today, Novatech Engineering has 160 employees, and we average about 50K a year in those employees. Our intentions are to build a business that is similar to what we presently have. So we see ourselves having another 50 to 100 employees over the period of putting this product into the field.
Representative Mahoney, do you have any other questions that can't be followed up offline?
Well, Mr. Chair, even at this number, we're at about $150,000 a year per job over the 10 years, or about $15,000 subsidy per job. And the key here is what is the return in tax, income tax and taxes to the state, and how long does it take for us to get it? Now, I'm not opposed to this particular enterprise. I think it's, you know, if we're going to add value to ag in greater Minnesota, that's just fine, and I'm happy to do that. But I think the taxpayers of Minnesota need to understand what the subsidy of the job is. And if it's at the numbers that were just mentioned here, put this subsidy at about $150,000 per job. So I want people in the state to understand that that's what we do here.
Members, we have a quorum at this time. At this time, seeing that Representative Mahoney was very intent with his study, he's going to move the minutes for our last meeting dated March 23rd. Representative Mahoney moves the minutes. All those in favor of adopting the minutes from our last meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion prevails. The minutes have been adopted. Representative Wagenius, do you have a question that can be followed up offline?
I would like to ask it online if I could.
Online? Okay, let's be brief.
Yes. For each of your harbors.
Please speak into the microphone.
Thank you. For each of your harbors, are they self-contained or will they be set up to use our wastewater treatment facilities?
To the testifier.
Mr. Chairman, they are self-contained. We have complete wastewater treatment facilities on the premises of the harbor. It is to our value to recycle every drop of water because we have to turn it into salt water. So we have wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. And then Representative Guinness, I'll give you one more.
So you will have waste, though, and what happens to that waste?
To the testifier.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we will have a solid waste, and quite frankly, it's our intention to turn that into a co-product of the harbor. So we are going to limit the waste as much as we can. The waste of the fecal matter, of the uneaten feed, is still rich with protein and can be used for a terrestrial feed.
Thank you for your testimony. Representative Davney, you got the final question.
Thank you, Representative Newberger. Will you be back for further subsidies for additional harbors or locations?
To the testifier.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, no, not at this time. Although I would like to tell you, as we build this, we'd like to keep you informed of how this industry will be progressing as we go through this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Members, thank you for your testimony. Representative Sundin, let's make this quick, okay?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The testifier mentioned a $50,000 average wage. You're including all the executives and professional personnel. What's the entry-level wages on a project?
To the testifier.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I believe that was Jim that mentioned, Mr. Seaman mentioned the $50,000. Our starting wage in our models is $15 with full benefits, but we too will have a large technical staff centered around the animal husbandry, the biology, and the water chemistry related to the harbor.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next testifier up today will be John Dukic. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, John Dukic with the Minnesota High Tech Association. We are a trade association that represents more than 300 science and technology businesses throughout the state of Minnesota. And I'd just like to, first of all, thank the committee, Mr. Chair, Representative Garofalo, and Representative O'Neill for your work on the SciTech Experience Internship Program. We're pleased to see that that has been fully funded, which will provide up to, or actually more than 650 science and technology internships at small companies throughout the state of Minnesota, and I should mention that those are paid internships. We're also pleased to see that the VoIP and small cell provisions are included in the bill, and are pleased to see that funding for broadband and the Office of Broadband is included, and are hopeful to see maybe that funding bumped up a little bit. And with that, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, thank you for your testimony. Up next, we have Andrew Moratska. On deck, we have Commissioner Hardy, and after Commissioner Hardy, we have Commissioner Tingerthal. Andrew Moratska. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Andrew Moratska. I'm a partner at the law firm Stoll Reeves. Focus my practice on representing large industrial end users of energy and independent power producers on matters before the Public Utilities Commission. My work over the past decade has spanned many regulatory dockets, including utility rate cases, utility resource plans, and certificate of need proceedings. I'm testifying today on behalf of the Minnesota Large Industrial Group, an ad hoc coalition of large industrial end users of gas and electricity who, as a group, on the electric side, consume in excess of $6 billion kilowatt hours annually and pay more than $350 million in electric bills. I'm here today to speak very narrowly on Article 10 of the omnibus and specifically Sections 10, 11, 12, 20, 21, and 22. In the past, the legislature has amended state law to require the commission to consider a variety of factors when setting rates or approving utility investments, including low-income customers, energy efficiency, and the environment. The Minnesota Large Industrial Group believes that the legislature can and should require jobs in the economy to also be considered. In very simple terms, the legislation we support does just that. Sections 10, 11, and 12 put economic growth and job retention into the Commission's general rate-setting provisions. Section 20 requires an analysis of the economy, job growth, and job retention into the Commission's review of utility resource plans. And Sections 21 and 22 require the Commission to balance calculations of environmental costs, renewable preference with the economy, job growth, and job retention. Minnesota Large Industrial Group supports these revisions, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Up next, we have Commissioner Hardy. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. For the record, my name is Shantara Hardy, and I'm the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, also known as DEED. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on the House Omnibus Bill. I appreciate the challenge of crafting a legislative budget, especially one with a difficult target. As you know, Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith proposed an opportunity budget focused on protecting Minnesota's financial future while supporting a strong economy for everyone in our state. Unfortunately, there are many parts of this bill not aligned with that agenda. In the interest of time, and because I've sent the committee a detailed letter, my testimony will highlight the provisions, those that we strongly support, those that drastically decrease funding, and those that include harmful policy that will limit workforce and economic development opportunities throughout Minnesota. Starting with broadband. As you know, from attracting and retaining businesses and talent and improving student success, high-quality broadband is a leveling playing field for driving economic development in communities throughout greater Minnesota. That's why the governor recommended $60 million in fiscal year 18 and 19 to expand access to at least 23,000 households and businesses in greater Minnesota. I am concerned that the $7 million proposed in the House bill will not keep pace with the identified needs and will limit access. In addition, the bill also eliminates funding to our office that is responsible and that is a lean office for staffing the delivery of grants for this program. As you know, with limited funding, this office will have difficulties administering future grants and measuring our progress towards our state goals, and also monitoring the more than $66 million in existing grants that we have. I urge you to fully fund at the governor's level. The other area of concern in economic development is our Minnesota Investment and Job Creation Fund. These are effective tools used to craft incentive packages to meet differing business needs across the state. MIF and Job Creation have invested over $70 million in business expansions and have helped create over 10,000 jobs throughout the state. The House bill falls short of replenishing the cuts from last session, only increasing MIF funding by $1 million in fiscal year 18 and job creation by 1.5 in fiscal year 18 and 19. I encourage you to fund the programs at the governor's recommended levels at $30 million for MEF and $25 million for JCF for fiscal year 18 and 19. In addition, I urge you to adopt the governor's policy recommendations, which increase flexibility for the agency and provides greater help for businesses in greater Minnesota. Lastly, the bill includes language that would negatively impact the operation of the Job Creation Fund. It restricts where DEED can award resources, really based on unemployment for the prior months. I want to just note under this language which areas throughout the state would be ineligible at this time. You'll see in the letter in the Twin Cities, Anoka, Carver, Dakota, Hennepin, Ramsey, and Scott, and Washington would no longer receive funds. In Greater Minnesota, Blue Earth, Clay, Dodge, Douglas, Goodhoe, Lincoln, Candy Ojai, Nobles, Nicollet, Olmsted, Pipestone, Pipe, Rice, Rock, Stern, Still, and Stevens, and a number of regional centers throughout the state will no longer receive these funds. As you know, these are the bread and butter to be able to help businesses come in these communities, especially in our Greater Minnesota communities. The other area I'll call your attention to is our Minnesota Trade Office, which this budget cuts by 23%. This budget also cuts the 4 global trade offices that we have around the state, around the country, around the nation, that helps us with our international marketing of the state. For the first time in 13 years, if this language would pass, we would have no foreign offices, which would greatly impact our state's presence in the global market. I strongly urge you to fund the Minnesota Trade Office at the current level. In the workforce area, the bill fails to fund the governor's recommended $7 million to increase funding for our vocational rehabilitation services program. Without this increase, VRS will be forced to close Category 1, which serves Minnesotans with the most severe disabilities. All new clients, an estimated 5,800 Minnesotans per year, would be placed on an indefinite waiting list until the fall. It's critical as we look at employment rates of over 9% in our communities with disabilities that we fund the $7 million, or we will not be able to serve further clients in this program. The other area I'll mention is our equity investments. As you know, Minnesota has some of the largest economic disparities in the country. And if our state intends to prosper economically as it has in the past, we have to close these gaps. I am encouraged that we agree that our Pathways to Prosperity program is our state's top strategy, and you've invested in this program. I thank the committee for that. However, the equity investments that were put into the law last session, the direct appropriation and the competitive grants, are very important to closing those economic disparity gaps. This bill eliminates those appropriations during the time when those organizations haven't had a chance to actually show outcomes, and so I hope that the committee will consider the funding. Lastly, with respect to our operations, the bill caps full-time employee counts by division and program and reduces the number of deputies from 4 to 1. These caps are arbitrary and void of any strategic purpose, as they could impact the quality and timeliness of DEED services. Under this bill, DEED would not be able to respond to any increased demands in the economy, and it's our belief and the governor's belief that the commissioner, myself and those after me, should have the authority to determine the appropriate organizational structure and staffing levels to work the agency in order to meet the needs of Minnesotans. Additionally, the bill contains language that limits transfers between agencies within the department. For example, we have a program with my colleague in the Department of Labor and Industry, which we transfer money as mandated by law. Under this language, the apprenticeship program would not receive funds for DEED. These partnerships are very important to leveraging services and the expertise of existing staff, which we believe is cost-effective and more efficient for our clients. This language is unnecessary and hinders the efficiency within state government. Mr. Chair and members, as the work of this session continues, I hope that we can continue to work together to improve this bill and the proposed recommendations in order to carry out the critical services at DEED. That concludes my prepared remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next testifier is Commissioner Tingerthal. On deck is Commissioner Ken Peterson. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Mary Tingerthal. I am the commissioner at the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. I want to thank the committee for giving us an opportunity to talk about this bill. I agree with the first speaker, Mr. Dorman, about the importance of workforce housing throughout the state of Minnesota. You already heard testimony about potentially more jobs in western Minnesota. But frankly, I'm baffled by the fact that Mr. Dorman feels that this bill actually increases the resources for workforce housing in greater Minnesota. In fact, what it does is it takes a program already funded at DEED in the base budget and moves it to Minnesota Housing, and then it slashes nearly $13 million from the Minnesota Housing Challenge Fund, which has been used since 1999 to produce workforce housing in Greater Minnesota. We have worked together with the Department of Economic Development over the last 4 years using both the Challenge Fund and the Workforce Housing Funds to develop over 1,200 units of workforce housing in Greater Minnesota, both home ownership and rental properties. And this would literally shut the program down in fiscal year 19 for any housing that would be supported under the Challenge Fund. And 90% in the last year of dollars that came from the Challenge Fund went to Greater Minnesota. So we're not talking about a program that maybe committee members have issues with where those dollars have gone. We are talking about a program that simply will not be available in fiscal year 19 if the bill moves ahead as it is proposed. With regard to the workforce housing program that is proposed in the bill to be moved from DEED to Minnesota Housing, we have supported that program. We have worked with DEED, but we have two issues that we would like to bring up to the committee that if you choose to move forward with this, we think should take your attention. The first is this bill still includes language that prohibits the dollars in this section of the bill from being combined with any dollars, local, state, federal, that require any kind of income limits. We understand that, that the workforce housing program is one that the authors wish to not be subject to income limits, but we think it's short-sighted to not allow the combination of funding. Over the last 2 years, as we've worked with DEED, we have literally funded projects across the street from each other in places like Perham and Thief River Falls because of this prohibition. We are not suggesting in any way that it should be a requirement that these funds be combined with other funds, but we think that communities should have the option of combining funds so that you could have a mixed income development if that's what that community feels is best for it. The workforce housing program does require a match of local funds, so it really can be a community decision. They can decide whether to support a project that allows the mixing of financing or not. So I really urge you to consider that as a potential amendment. Secondly, we strongly recommend that rather than these funds going out under the workforce housing program as a grant, that we adopt what we have found at Minnesota Housing to be a best practice of putting it on the property as a deferred loan. That operates very much like a grant. It simply creates a lien on the property that if that property ceases to be residential property in the future, that those dollars would come back to the state of Minnesota and could be recycled. We don't see a lot of these dollars come back, but when there is a dispute, those dollars do come back and are recycled back into the same program. With regard to the governor's initiatives, we were saddened to see that the Homework Starts with Home, $8 million in funding for a proven program of teaming up parents with kids in schools that have experienced homelessness was not included in the bill. We are pleased that you did include $4 million for the CLASS Act, which is a similar proposal, but sadly, that inclusion was at the expense of the development dollars in the Challenge Fund. The net result is that you are looking at a bill that has nearly $9 million less for the development of housing than it had when it started. So with that, I'd like to conclude my remarks and ask if there are any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next testifier, Commissioner Peterson, are you here? Not seeing Commissioner Peterson. How about Dave Bartholomew? Am I getting that right?
And Mr. Chair,
Representative Thiessen.
as he's coming up, is there a tails target, if that's not been asked yet for this budget?
A specific tails target or overall? What do you want to elaborate on?
Specific tails target to this budget, yeah. I don't know how to be more specific.
Stand by. Representative Thiessen, speaking with staff here, Ways and Means has not adopted anything like that at this time. If you want a more follow-up, I would suggest you talk to Chair Garofalo.
And Mr. Chair, is there anything?
Representative Thiessen.
Is there anything unofficial?
Well, I am not, I'm, right.
One-time money that you.
Right, at this time, I can't, I'm not gonna go there, I'm not gonna answer that, because if I say yes, then people will say, oh, there's an unofficial target, and if I say no, they're not gonna believe me anyway. Well, folks on your side. So, at this point in the game, we're gonna have to wait to see how it goes through Ways and Means, and then if you wanna get in, if it goes through Ways and Means, and then follow up with Representative Chair Garofalo.
And Mr. Chair, I thought we were going to be amending the bill tomorrow, and if we're going to offer amendments, we kind of need to know what the tails target is so we can figure out what we're doing.
Representative Thiessen, I can get you an answer here before we reconvene.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I hope it'll come as no surprise that I'm not Dave Bartholomew. I'm Josh
I'm
Tolson.
sorry, a little louder, sir. We got some background.
I'm sorry. I hope it won't come as any surprise to the members of the committee that I am not Dave Bartholomew. I'm Josh Tilson, the Commissioner of the Bureau of Mediation
Well,
Services.
thank you. Welcome to the committee.
Yep. I want to thank you for the chance to appear here this morning, and I want to express my deep concern about HF 2209, specifically the impact it'll have on all Minnesotans, and urge you to adopt the priorities in the governor's budget, HF 1081. When we talked earlier this session, I provided you an overview of the impact of the work of the BMS on the life of citizens of the state. HF 22 will make it much more difficult for us to continue to make the progress we've made in the last 6 years. The bill will eliminate all funding for the Officer Collaboration Dispute Resolution. I spent a great deal of time talking with you about this at my last appearance here. It will walk back recent progress in providing communities, governments, and lawmakers with the opportunity to take advantage of modern problem-solving dispute resolution tools and models to address difficult and controversial matters of public concern. Since its establishment in 2013, OCDR has served as a resource and a catalyst in a number of important high-profile matters affecting large numbers of Minnesotans. Among the most important is the ongoing strengthening of the Minnesota's community mediation agencies. The community mediation programs in Minnesota utilize trained volunteers as mediators who live in the communities they serve. Services are provided at low or no cost to users and save money. Services are provided in the areas of conciliation court, neighborhood disputes, landlord-tenant disputes, family law, restorative justice, conflict resolution, skill building, problem-solving and facilitation, business consumer, community policing and police officer training, victim offender resolutions, and in the K-12 system. OCDR's delivery of collaborative solutions and problem-solving services in public policy and other matters of public concern has also become recognized as a valuable public policy resource in a few short years. Examples of some of these projects include the Child Custody Dialogue that many of you are aware of, the Governor's Water Summit, our work with the St. Paul schools to help them address violence in the schools and with their superintendent search, also with the Metropolitan Council with their wastewater treatment, at the St. Peter Hospital with patient-centered care and worker safety, and with MnSCU on their organizational development issues with the unions. Cutting this program is really short-sighted. I mean, it saves tons of money, it saves litigation costs, and it is a program that really pulls its weight in state government. We've been called in every time there's a crisis in one of these major kinds of events. Another thing that isn't mentioned here is right now we're working in with the dispute between the Mille Lacs Indian Band and the Sheriff's Department, well, actually the County of Mille Lacs, wherein they've been unable to attain an agreement on policing on the reservation. So it's very short-sighted to cut this program. The elimination of the PERB funding is another thing that's in this bill. Since its establishment, PERB has been unable to carry out any of its legislative mission to hear and adjudicate unfair labor practice charges. As a result, employer and unions have had no option but seeking redress in the courts. This is, the lack of an administrative remedy makes Minnesota an outlier among states with comprehensive public sector collective bargaining laws. The reason other states have adopted this structure is that court remedies are slow, costly for both government and employee organizations. Now, let me just take a minute to speak about the restrictions on hiring, salary, transfers of money, and billing. You've heard about this from my concerns are the same as the other commissioners you've heard from. I don't really need to say too much about this. Limits our agency's authority to engage in cost-saving cooperations both within and without agencies. We are a tiny agency. We've got 14 people. Corrections does all our finance work. I mean, they do all of our transactions and our payroll and everything. And this apparently would make us go out and hire an auditor, right? And then it restricts the number of FTEs we can have. It blocks FTE increases funded by grants and federal dollars or fees, and we've been earning some significant grants from foundations to support the work of the Office for Collaboration and Dispute Resolution. It doesn't provide statutorily for the OCDR PERB, preventing the Bureau from carrying out any of these statutorily mandated functions. And by capping aggregate salaries, it both will conflict with some of the labor agreements, reduce morale, and promote increased turnover. I strongly urge you to reconsider the financial cuts and operating restrictions proposed in this bill, and rather to include the important proposals that strengthen the state that are included in the governor's budget proposal. Now, I'd like to just take a minute to talk about the BMS's budget that's included in the governor's budget. So first of all is the BMS operating budget. This is something that was included for all the agencies. It's something in the neighborhood of 2%. For years, we went without any operating budget adjustment. We got a small 1.8% increase 2 years ago. Before that, for years, we went without any, and it was one of the reasons that the size of our agency just shrunk down to as few as 11 employees at one point. Now we're up to a huge 14 employees. So we're a tiny agency, and if we have to offset the costs of all the inflationary costs, both for compensation costs and for other just sort of inflationary costs like our rent, and we have to rent cars because our guys travel all over the country and so forth. This will just have us reducing our staff again. The OCDR Community Mediation Grant Program I spoke at some length before, but the governor's recommendation is to provide an additional $250,000 each year to continues to support for the community mediation programs that I've mentioned. Also, it finally put some money in there for PERB to let them open their doors in January of 2017 as the budget, as the statute requires. So essentially, I urge you to work together to try to find ways to make this bill better and to conciliate with the governor's office to reach agreements that everybody can sign, and we can all continue to do our work together.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thanks a lot. Any questions?
Commissioner Ken Peterson, are you here? Commissioner Peterson? All right, we'll move on to our next testifier. It's Tom Chauvin. I believe it's Chauvin or Chauvin. And then on deck, we have Ann, looks like Kilzer. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you. Tom Chauvin. Mr. Chairman, committee members, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm here to testify about the $700,000 loan starting on line 4.1 of the bill. I'm a general manager with Republic Services. I've been employed with them for 33 years, starting as a driver. Republic Services has 33,000 employees and operates in 41 states. In Minnesota, our 500 employees provide recycling and waste hauling services, and we are also proud to operate landfill in Inver Grove Heights. Republic has a company-wide focus on recycling. We work hard to collect as many recyclables as possible, even as this directly reduces what comes into our landfill, because it's the right thing to do for the customers and the environment. Our commitment to recycling is backed up by millions of dollars of investments in our 2 state-of-the-art recycling centers. Last year, we processed over 150,000 tons of material through these 2 facilities. At the same time, not everything can be recycled. In Minnesota, there's currently 2 options for waste. The first option is processing waste, burning it to produce energy. Republic has a strong history of supporting Minnesota waste processing. In fact, we are the #1 hauler in deliveries to the 2 of the 4 area processing facilities. The second option is delivering to a landfill. We also produce renewable energy at Pine Bend, powering over 8,000 homes with electricity each year. Our modern line landfills abides by the highest environmental standards. The environmental protections for the currently operating landfills like Pine Bend are worlds away from unlined landfills which closed decades ago. A comparison of the current metro area rates for waste processing and land disposal clearly show that landfilling is the most cost-effective for the consumer, businesses, the state, both short and long-term. We are here to oppose the provision of this bill which would directly support a competitor. The item in question is a $700,000 loan for a waste-to-biofuel project in Inver Grove Heights. If built, this waste processing facility will directly compete against Pine Bend for waste. We have no objections about competing in the free market. We compete every day with every hauler in the metro area. But however, we strongly object to the state picking winners and losers to give a competitor advantage. This is not fair to our business, our employees who work at Pine Bend, including the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 49. Additionally, we strongly suggest that the state evaluate whether the project is a good investment. The project did not receive a hearing in either the Environmental Committee or the Energy Committee. We haven't had the details on this project, but our understanding that this new technology has not been done at this scale. We ask that the committee remove the provision and take time to evaluate whether this is an appropriate investment.
Thank you for your testimony. Further testimony? Did you have anything?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Your phone a friend. Okay. Members? All right, thank you once again. Thanks again. And up on deck, we have here is Ann Kilzer, Director of the Minnesota Workforce Council. Welcome to the testimony. And then we have Charlie Vanderard, if you're on deck. And Commissioner Peterson, are you here? Not seeing Commissioner. Okay, thank you for coming. Please state your name for the record.
Yes, Mr. Chair and members, I'm Ann Kilzer. I'm the Director of the Minnesota Workforce Council Association. Our members provide employment and training programs to employers and job seekers in all 87 counties through the statewide system of workforce centers, overseen by the 16 local workforce development boards across the state. This committee often touts public-private partnerships, and that's exactly what occurs in the statewide system, as our boards are comprised and chaired by members of local employers who provide strategic direction to these locally driven investments. We are very pleased in the strong support in this bill for statewide formula-based programs like the Minnesota Youth Program. The dislocated worker program is maintained rather than decreased relative to other proposals, and we are pleased that investments continue to be made in competitive grant programs, which allow for more targeted services to particular populations or industry sectors and are critical complements to our other formula-funded programs. So with that, we thank you for your work and look forward to continuing discussions as the process moves forward.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Charlie Vanderard, and then on deck, we have Steve Huser. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Charlie Vanderarty with Metro Cities, an association of 91 member cities in the 7-county metro region. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on House File 2209. A priority of Metro Cities this year is restoring the funding of the Minnesota Investment Fund and the Job Creation Fund to the levels the legislature passed in 2015. I would like to thank Representative Howe for his sponsorship of House File 1916, which restores the funding for these important programs that have had success creating jobs across the state. I'd also like to thank Representatives Baker, Newberger, and May Quaid for their co-sponsorship of the restoration bill. The Minnesota Investment Fund and Job Creation Fund have supported thousands of new jobs in all corners across the state. These programs are proven and competitive and are effective because they have been flexible. And when they have been funded, businesses looking to expand look to Minnesota or stay in Minnesota. Minnesota has modest funding levels for state economic development programs, and restoring these funds would support more jobs and more private investment in Minnesota. Metro Cities appreciates the first steps this bill takes in funding these programs and supports full restoration. While funding is important, flexibility and ability to access the funds is also essential to keep the state competitive with other regions and our neighboring states. The policy language in this bill would severely restrict the use of the Job Creation Fund dollars to only a few parts of the state. 31 counties, including the entire metro region, would be excluded from accessing the Job Creation Fund dollars for businesses looking to expand or locate in Minnesota. This language sets policy without a competitive process. Metro Cities supports restoring funds for MIF and JCF and to keep the JCF available and accessible to all parts of the state. We also support the redevelopment grant program, which cleans up polluted land so that it can be redeveloped. After last week's 7 grant awards, the fund is now at $0. Metro Cities also urges the committee to fund the Challenge program in the Minnesota housing budget in fiscal year 2019. These are dollars that are flexible and oversubscribed. They're used for single-family housing, multifamily housing, rental housing, and owner-occupied housing. Metro Cities also supports the workforce development funds in the bill. The Job Skills Partnership helps incumbent workers retrain for jobs that employers need, and the youth training programs help new workers entering the workforce prepare for their careers. Finally, Metro Cities opposes language in this bill that would require local housing goals to be approved by the legislature. This bill would add legislative oversight of local process and goals. Housing goals are negotiated locally with the Met Council, and Metro City urges the committee to remove this language and recognize the ability of local governments to negotiate with what works well for their communities. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with the committee as you go through the budget process, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your testimony. Were you here? Are you Stephen?
Yes.
Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record. And on deck, we have Mr. Byrd and Emily Pugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Stephen Huser. I also represent Metro Cities. Metro Cities respectfully but strongly opposes Article 9, Sections 5 through 19 in this bill. This provision proposes dramatic changes to state laws governing public rights-of-way by providing unregulated access to wireless providers. These sections would have the effect of eliminating the ability of local units of government to effectively manage public rights-of-way and ensuring for the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Public rights-of-way play a vital role in the safe and efficient provision of infrastructure for our local community. Current law enables local governments to have oversight in public rights-of-way for the purpose of ensuring safe and appropriate uses and managing them. The provisions related to siting on utility poles and other city property would severely hinder the ability of cities to manage issues for which they are responsible in order to ensure appropriate maintenance and management of the right-of-way, community safety, and managing impacts of uses on other city infrastructure, operations, and costs. This bill would give unfettered access to one particular industry and tie the hands of city officials in being able to appropriately manage them. Nothing in current law prohibits the placement of these installations, and cities want new technology in their communities. Many cities have successfully negotiated small cell wireless placement with providers under current laws governing public rights-of-way. Metro Cities policies generally oppose statutory restrictions that impede the ability of local officials to act and protect the best interests of the community. Under this premise, Metro Cities respectfully but strongly oppose these sections and support the removal from House File 2209. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Chris Byrd, welcome to the committee. And we have Emily Pugh on deck, and is Commissioner Ken Peterson here? Not seeing him. Emily Pugh, you're on deck. Mr. Byrd, please state your name and welcome. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. My name is Chris Byrd, and I'm the Public Works Director and County Highway Engineer for Benton County. But I'm also here today representing the Minnesota County Engineers Association. Our group is comprised of members from all 87 counties, and we're as diverse as our great state. And I'm here to testify in opposition to the small cell wireless legislation that restricts the ability of local governments to manage public rights-of-way within their jurisdiction. As a county highway engineer, I am tasked with protecting the public road right-of-way in the interest of safety to the intended primary user, the traveling public. There's no doubt that our roads and streets contain features that are serving a purpose other than the motoring public, but please understand that careful consideration is made in the placement of these features to maintain a high level of safety to motoring, bicycling, and pedestrian public. Counties generally control right-of-way for highways that are suburban and rural in nature. These roads have a distinct feature not existent on urban streets, and that's speed. Devices that are placed in our right-of-way are designed to be able to support themselves and their appurtenances, meaning overhead lights or traffic signal heads or sign panels. But these poles are also designed to be crash-worthy, or in other words, they must break away in the event they are struck by a vehicle. The current proposal defines a small cell wireless support structure to include poles such as a street light pole, or traffic signal pole, or even sign poles. This is concerning due to the fact that each of the aforementioned pole types is designed for a specific purpose and not for the purpose of supporting a small wireless facility. Couple that with the bill definition of a small wireless facility to mean a device that can fit into a box that is 6 feet tall, 6 feet wide, and 6 feet deep. Adding a device to a pole in county highway right-of-way that was not originally designed to support can significantly alter the way it reacts during a crash. Section 15, subdivision 3 in the bill restricts the government unit from specifying which poles may be used to collate wireless facilities. There may be numerous reasons that a wireless facility should not be placed on a pole, ranging from safety concerns to planned construction activities that remove that pole or support structure. The current bill limits the amount of management costs that can be recovered, but analyzing a pole for structural integrity or crashworthiness may require the expertise of outside structural experts. Most county highway departments may not have structural expertise on staff to review different pole types for different wireless devices. The bill has specific language against recovering the cost of a third-party contractor, and this would be additional cost to the county. Furthermore, language in the bill allows for permits for up to 75 small wireless facilities to be submitted in any 1 week. This many permits being received is overly burdensome to many highway departments. Additional language specifies the time frame in which permit must be approved. This would force time and resources to be diverted away from other crucial highway activities to process small wireless facility co-location permit requests. Section 14, subdivision 3 says that we can't require a permit on a structure not owned by the local government. But we may need to know in that opportunity to review the cases such as this that could lead to additional work in the right-of-way. Additionally, the current proposed language severely limits a county's ability to revoke a permit. But there may be legitimate revocation needed because the government-owned support structure no longer serves a public purpose. An example of this may be a traffic signal-controlled intersection has wireless facilities approved to be mounted in those poles, but that intersection is to be upgraded to a roundabout, and those traffic signal poles will no longer exist. The current proposed language favors the wireless provider and not the owner of the pole. In summary, county right-of-way is meant to facilitate the movement of people, although other facilities do exist. Safety of the public is always paramount when considering placing structures in public right-of-way. Adding devices to structures that are designed for crashworthiness may compromise safety. As a road authority, we need to maintain the ability to review and restrict the placement of some devices on government-owned structures. The county engineers of Minnesota urge the committee to consider alternative language for this type of legislation. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. I see that there's one question. Can we give you a quick one? Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to know if you were part of the negotiations and if you're aware of the 23 changes that are coming that address basically everything you just said.
I was not, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was not directly involved, but the County Engineers Association aligns and supports the League of Minnesota Cities in their efforts with negotiations, and I think that they've primarily been doing the most negotiations on this bill.
Mr. Chair.
Representative O'Neill.
It would be helpful for testimony for whoever else is in the room that they actually address the changes that are on the table as opposed to what's actually in the bill, because almost everything you said has already been addressed. I didn't see any point that you said that wasn't already addressed in these 23 changes that are coming. So just because we have very limited time, and that was a very long testimony and it was not relevant to the agreed upon, what was agreed upon. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative.
Mr. Chair?
Representative Dabney.
Mr. Chair, did I miss a handout on the 23 changes? Is it in the packet? I'm sorry.
It should be, the pages distributed these. Could the page please bring an extra copy if you need one?
Thank you.
We got one, we're good. Thank you. Emily Pugh, welcome to the committee. And on deck, we have, after Emily, we have Mr. Mendoza. Emily, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Mr. Chair and members, Emily Pugh with the Association of Minnesota Counties. Thank you.
A little bit louder. We haven't. Thank you. Use your outside voice.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify this morning. Continued funding for the Border-to-Border Broadband Grant Program, as well as funding for the Office of Broadband Development, is a top priority for counties, cities, and townships across the state. While we understand the committee needs to meet targets, we would appreciate if the committee would consider increased funding for the Border to Border grant program for the next biennium, as well as funding for broadband mapping. Additionally, providing funding for the grant program over both fiscal years allows for better project planning. There is a great amount of support for the program statewide. With last year's $35 million to the program, 42 projects received funding. And we hope you will continue to make broadband funding a priority. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Up after that, we have Mr. Mendoza. Mr. Mendoza, as you're getting settled in there, just see, did Commissioner Peterson, are you available? All right. Never let it be known that the House of Representatives doesn't like their commissioners. Mr. Mendoza, then we have Marie Ellie. You're on deck after Mr. Mendoza. Mr. Mendoza, welcome to the committee.
Thank you,
Please
Mr.
state your
Chair.
name for the records.
My name's Tony Mendoza. I'm outside counsel to the Minnesota Cable Communications Association. On behalf of the Cable Association, I want to thank the committee and the chair for including the provisions of House File 1665, which reforms regulation of voice-over internet services in Minnesota. I'm also here today to testify, though, in opposition to sections 5 through 19 of Article 9 of the bill relating to small cell wireless technology access to public rights-of-way. These provisions would grant wireless companies more favorable access to public rights-of-way than what is afforded to any other telecommunications right-of-way user. This bill fails to take into account the important concerns that have been raised by stakeholders about this bill since its introduction. The Cable Association's primary concern with the legislation is that it discriminates on the basis of technology. It is not competitively neutral. For that reason, the legislation contradicts federal law, which allows local governments to manage public rights-of-way use by telecommunications service providers, so long as those regulations are non-discriminatory and competitively neutral. This small cell legislation is not competitively neutral. The bill would create a special, streamlined process for accessing public rights-of-way only for small cell wireless facilities. Other equally important technologies are left out of this special process. This is precisely the type of technology favoritism the Federal Telecommunications Act prohibits. Right-of-way access by telecommunications providers and other utilities is a complex technical issue. If there are going to be changes to the Minnesota Telecommunications right-of-way statute, the Cable Association believes those changes should be comprehensive, fair, and equitable to all right-of-way users. In Ohio, a state that has been held up by the wireless industry as a model for Minnesota, the wireless industry did not reach a consensus with stakeholders. Yet the bill was enacted into law over the objections of many stakeholders. And last week, a group of 79 cities sued the state of Ohio over similar legislation. The Cable Association remains opposed to the small cell legislation, and due to the complex and technical nature of the issue, the Cable Association believes this issue requires more careful and thoughtful study and discussion, removed from the time pressures of the legislative session. The Cable Association has been at the table from the outset. It will continue to work in good faith toward a solution to this issue. But for the reasons cited, we urge you to delete these provisions of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Marie, I'll take one. Is this something we can do offline or quick? All right, Representative Metza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and just wanted to add in this discussion, I think it sounds like I talked to Representative Hoppy that this may end up getting negotiated out today so more stakeholders get some input. I was contacted by my local cities who would be liable right now under the current legislation. Say a power line fell, knocked off their wireless tower, my city and local community residents would be paying to fix someone else's property, and so I think there's more work that needs to get done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for your input. And members and ladies and gentlemen from the public here, just a quick housekeeping note. We are trying to, as you know, we are trying to be respectful, but we are trying to accelerate things as much as we can. If you look at your list right now, we are down to our next testifier is going to be Marie Ellie. We have about, it'll be Commissioner Tilson. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Ken Peterson is here. He'll be next. But members and folks from the public, if you turn the page over, we've got a large list on the back, and I've just been informed we have another list, a supplemental list of at least 20 more people after we get through the back page of this. So if you're wondering why I'm trying to keep things rolling, it's in everyone's interest to do so. So Thank you for your testimony. Commissioner Ken Peterson, welcome to the committee. And then after the commissioner is done, we'll have Marie Ellie. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Mr. Chairman, members, my name is Ken Peterson. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Labor and Industry. Thank you for, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning, and to also like to thank the committee for its
Commissioner, please get a little closer to the microphone and use your outside voice.
All right. Okay, I'll do that. I want to thank the committee for the opportunity to appear before you, and I want to thank you for proposing to maintain our base budget, granting much of the governor's budget request for the agency, as well as giving DLI, our agency, several additional responsibilities. However, we do have several concerns that I'd also like to share with you today. We do a good job at Labor and Industry, so we're very pleased there are no reductions in our base budget. We're also pleased we granted a $5.2 million reduction in fees for our Construction Codes and Licensing Division, and an additional $250,000 per year was granted to combat wage theft. The additional anti-wage theft funding will allow the department to respond more quickly and effectively. The Minnesotans aren't getting paid by their employers for the work they do. We also look forward to being part of the new Helmets to Hard Hats program to help veterans get into apprenticeship programs. It's a great idea, and we're looking forward to our participation in it. At the same time, we'd like you to reconsider the decision not to fund several of the governor's budget requests, as well as the proposed limits on effective agency management. I also ask that you consider withdrawing the proposal that would delay implementing the 2018 Minnesota Building Code. The first item we'd like to be reconsidered is the governor's request for a one-time appropriation for a new case management system for DLI's Labor Standards Division. We're working with a system installed in the mid-1980s to handle complaints of wage theft, child labor violations, and other violations of workplace laws. A new system would enable us to do our work much better, so we hope you can consider that. Second, although you have provided the necessary language to make the pipeline project permanent, we are disappointed you're not providing the funds as the governor proposed for the project. As you will recall, this is a work-to-learn, employer-based program that was recognized in 2016 as the state's most successful innovation program. Last session, the project appropriation came from the Higher Education Committee, so we're still hopeful that once again there'll be funding from that source. We applaud the language you provided for Youth Skills Partnership, which would encourage young people to explore well-paid careers that don't require 4 years of college. However, the necessary funding for that program was also not included in the bill. We're very concerned with the inclusion of House File 1001 in the bill. It would require legislative committees' approval of any proposed administrative rule increases, any proposed administrative rule that would increase the cost of a new home by more than $1,000. Although the bill applies to all executive branch rulemaking, the adoption of the Minnesota State Building Code with its minimum safety standards would be affected the most. The bill's chief problem is a delay adopting new code. By statute, a building code must be adopted in 2 years, or the code process must start over. The extra time required for legislative study, review, deliberation, and debate will make that deadline much more difficult to make. In many cases, in fact, it'll be hard to objectively determine whether a given provision adds to or cuts costs, particularly when coupled with other parts of the code, or when cost savings from some code provisions may be realized later by the homeowner, such as the case with energy efficiency provisions. The result of having to start codes over and over again will be that home buyers will be denied any cost savings and other safety or technology advantages provided by a new code. Finally, I'd like to discuss the bill's restrictions on good management. By most metrics of customer responsiveness and efficiencies in production, the Department of Labor and Industry has been quite successful the last 7 years. We have cut fees, we have improved services, we have fewer staff. I'm afraid those sorts of improvements that we've been able to make will be more difficult to achieve under the management restrictions contained in the bill. The restrictions include bans on internal transfers, internal billing, division by division limits on total compensation, employee numbers, and external fund transfers. We urge you drop those constraints on good management from the bill. Thank you very much, members. Appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you for your testimony, Commissioner. On deck, next up, we have Marie Ellie. On deck will be Andy Emerson. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Marie Ellis, and I'm the Director of Public Affairs and Legal Counsel for the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce. And I'm here today to talk about the portion of your omnibus bill that deals with
A little
small
closer to
cell
the mic.
technology.
Thank you.
Thank you. I usually am told I'm too loud, so maybe this will work out for me. I'm here today to talk about the portion of your omnibus bill that deals with small cell technology. The St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce strongly supports this legislation as an important step to positioning Minnesota to embrace the next generation of technologies that drive our economy. We all know, and I think this room is a prime example, that businesses and people are relying more and more on faster technologies and more smaller devices to get their work done and to connect to the world around them. That technology is really becoming critical to the success of our communities. Technology drives business, and a healthy business community is vital to the success of Minnesota. Our businesses and our employees expect wireless networks to keep up with the demand of faster technologies. One of the ways that wireless companies can keep up with that demand is by deploying small cell technology. Small cells have helped to enhance wireless networks, and in doing so, bring faster speeds and a better overall wireless experience. For Minnesota to continue to attract new talent and business, we need to stay on the cutting edge of advancement, and small cell technology is that cutting edge. And with respect to some previous testimony, I'd just like to add that our experience is that some cities are not welcoming this new technology, and hence the need for this legislation. So I just will conclude by saying thank you for including that language in your omnibus bill.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Up next, we have Mr. Andy Emerson, and then on deck, we have Paul Wirtz, or Wirtz? Andy? Representative Mayquade.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are we going to be asking questions of folks at the end of all of this?
There will be time, we will have member questions when we're done with public testimony. If there's a bill that we have not heard, I will be flexible and entertain a few questions if they cannot be taken offline. Again, just out of respect to everyone's schedules here, we've got to finish the front of this list, we got to finish the back of this list, and then staff just showed me we have at least 20 more after that. So long answer to your short question, yes, I'll take questions if it's a bill that we have not heard, as long as it's something that needs to be answered here and not offline.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate
You're welcome. Mr. Emerson, please state your name for the record. Welcome to the committee.
Mr. Chair, I'm Paul Wirtz. I'm the state president for AT&T Minnesota. I'm going to introduce my colleague, Mr. Andy Emerson. He's with the law firm of Porter Wright, if that's okay. I just have a few opening comments with respect to the small cell legislation. We certainly appreciate the committee's attention on this important piece of legislation and investment opportunity for Minnesota. What you have in front of you, Representative O'Neill pointed out, is the more than 23 changes. I understand that there's an amendment that will be forthcoming with additional changes. We've been meeting with the stakeholders for more than 4 months, the League of Cities, county engineers, numerous local government stakeholders trying to allay these concerns. I think what you're hearing is really testimony from the original bill and not reflective of the additional changes. I would like to point out, and Mr. Emerson worked very closely on this Ohio legislation that was talked about earlier by our friends in the cable industry. Both the cable industry there and the municipal league were neutral on that bill. Now, that doesn't say that cities have disagreements with legislation, and there was a myriad of things in that omnibus package that, why that's being challenged in Ohio. But, I'm sure the city of Cleveland is grateful for the $350 million we've invested in the city there. But nevertheless, I also know that you have a VoIP provision in front of you that the cable industry, and we certainly support that, but it seems a little contradictory to argue for 21st century regulatory parity on internet protocol services and try to allay a 1970s franchise regulatory structure on 5G wireless going forward. The cable industry has been very clear about its desire to get into 5G, and just today, because this technology is moving at the speed of sound, will Comcast offer nationwide online TV services? They're going to be competing directly with DirecTV, with our online service, with YouTube TV, which is coming on. People want competition for their cable service. It's going to be brought wirelessly. So, I think, it'll be interesting to see if they argue for those franchise agreements where those cities where they're out of franchise, if you will. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Andy Emerson, to talk about the numerous changes we've made to the bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you. Andrew Emerson, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm a lawyer at Porter Wright Morrison Arthur in Columbus, Ohio, and I represent AT&T on small cell matters nationwide. And as Mr. Wirtz mentioned, I've spent the last couple months working with the League of Minnesota Cities and the cable industry and other stakeholders to negotiate amendments to the bill. You've got in your packets a number, 23 of them, and there's 5 additional ones in terms of work we've done in the Senate that we're willing to do. And I guess I'll just leave that in the interest of time. We can look at those materials. I want to hit a couple points, though, that have been brought up already. You have heard that, why do anything? You can already put small cells up under the existing law. I think it's important for everyone to understand that right now, when AT&T shows up at a city's door, you could get 850 different answers in Minnesota in terms of access, rent, okay, or zoning laws. That's not a way to encourage investment. And so the whole premise of this bill is to create a uniform set of rules to encourage this investment in Minnesota. So that's an important thing to point out right at the outset. And these things are important because rent, for instance, there is no fair market value for this. I'm working on 26 other bills in other states right now, and all of them have some sort of cost-based formula for rent, whether it's the FCC's formula or some, estimate that's appropriate for that. So that's important to understand. They all have a universal permitted use. So that's, you don't have 850 different answers for the zoning law. A couple other items I want to address, just because they've come up. I think one representative mentioned over here an indication from a city that, what about liability issues? I want to make it clear that any permit that's issued for a small cell would have terms and conditions for indemnification or liability in the permit. This is not stripping the cities of any of that. If they have it in their existing ordinances, it would remain. They can cite to it, they could put it in the permit, they could enter into a separate agreement. This bill does not preclude that sort of negotiation from occurring, and certainly being in the bill. The definition of the actual wireless support structure, it's been mentioned that that's too broad. I want to make it clear that we've specifically tailored it so that it was specific and addressed, what structures would be eligible for a attachment. Just the mention that the County Engineers Association brought up, I think it's important to understand that nothing in this bill strips a local entity's ability to deny a permit for a small cell if there's a structural integrity issue, if there's any generally applicable health, safety, or welfare concern, they could still deny a bill on those things. There's 2 different sections within the a permitting section that deal specifically with this. So I want to make that clear. There was a concern raised about, or that you may hear about restocking of these poles because some of them can be unique. There was a concession put in the bill to have restocking language associated with as a condition of approval to any permit. So if there's a specialty pole that was placed in a right-of-way, that if the city had a restocking requirement for other occupiers of the public way, that they would be able to require that also. One other issue, or 2 other issues, and then I'll stop. There was mention that the shot clock in this bill was too short at 60 days. We changed that to 90 days. So that's 30 more days than under existing Minnesota law right now for wireless facilities. Lastly, I just wanted to touch on, and Mr. Wirtz touched on a little bit, in terms of the cable opposition to this bill. You heard some testimony earlier that somehow this creates an unlevel playing field. Somehow there's new rules or something. First of all, the definition of a telecom right-of-way user in existing law here that this amends allows cable or any other occupier the same exact process if they're going to put similar equipment up in the right-of-way. So that's a farce. I just want to point that out. You can look at it. It's right there in the bill. And lastly, as Mr. Wirtz mentioned, I did negotiate the Ohio bill, and I can tell you that we were able to resolve all these issues with both the cities and the cable industry. I'm happy to take any questions, Chairman.
Representative Metzo, we did hear this bill in committee. Is this something brief?
I was just going to ask, will the testifiers be around later for questions?
That's to the testifiers.
Mr. Chairman, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Representative Metz. I appreciate that. Next up, we have Mr. Jay Littlejohn. Are you available? Thank you for coming here today. And on deck, we have it just says the Minnesota Glass Association. I'm assuming that's not your name, whoever that is, if you're available. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jay Littlejohn. I'm a zoning and land use attorney with Moss and Barnett in Minneapolis, represented Verizon Wireless in this state, both greater Minnesota and the metro area, for 29 years. It's been said that the bill strips the city of its regulatory authority. If you read the bill, you'll see that that's just not the case. What it does is it moves, for these very small cells, moves the decision-making from the public arena with hearings and gobs of information to the gobs of information going to the permitting authorities, the same people that now decide whether a particular light pole should be in a particular spot, a particular power pole, cable pole could be in that area. All the bill does is move that out of the zoning area and into the permitting area. There's no stripping of any authority. The same kinds of regulations that would apply to power lines, would apply to light poles, would also apply to these small wireless facilities. What it does do is it opens up the ability of these companies to install these small facilities on poles that the cities already have in place. Specifically requires that if a pole won't hold the facilities right now, all the city has to do is put in the permit, replace the pole, and the companies have to do it at their own cost. The current legislation, the 237, 162, and 163, already has an appeal process in place so that when a telecommunications right-of-way user seeks a permit and is denied, the wireless company or the wireline company can appeal. But that should be the exception, not the rule, and that's why this bill is being proposed. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Up next, we have, it just says Minnesota Glass Association. Is there anyone here for that? Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the committee. Please state your names for the record. And then on deck, after these gentlemen, we have, it looks like Mr. Todd Hill. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
My name's Rick Rosar with Rapid Glass, and I represent the Minnesota Glass Association.
My name is Brad Hapka with Only One Auto Glass and also with the Minnesota Glass Association.
Thank you. Proceed with your testimony.
Yeah, we represent all auto glass companies across the state of Minnesota. We're here in opposition of Section 4, Article 8, Section 4 of the insurance adjuster language. We know many of you have heard from our members and other glass shops across the state. Although Safelite Auto Glass is the biggest auto glass company in the United States, independent glass shops have no problem competing with them. The problem is that Safelite owns a claims processing division that refers work to themselves. This is a huge conflict of interest and the reason for many of our current laws. Some of the current laws written to protect consumers from unfair claims practices are in 72A.201, it's unlawful to failing to provide payment to the insured's chosen vendor based on a competitive price that's fair and reasonable, by not providing an advisory statement that allows consumers to choose their shop of choice and prohibits pressuring the consumer, requiring that the repair or replacement be made by a particular place or shop, engaging in any practice, intimidation, coercion, threat, incentive, or inducement. Changing the law would remove these and other consumer protections because the state would no longer have the authority or oversight to correct the offending actions without Safelite and others being licensed. Another reason we are asking you to remove the language from the bill is because Safelite handles the insurance claims process from the first notice of loss to the final payment. On most auto glass claims, the insurance company or agent never interacts with the consumer from the beginning to the end of the entire process. The customer calls the 800 number on their insurance card and they believe they're talking to their insurance company. However, the call goes directly to Safelite. The customer's shop of choice is also forced to call Safelite for authorization, another huge conflict of interest. Safelite collects confidential customer information. Safelite determines the severity of the damage. Safelite informs the customer of the pricing and their deductible. The glass shop sends their invoice to Safelite and claims payments come directly from Safelite. They are obviously acting like an insurance adjuster. So now instead of complying with current laws, this Safelite-sponsored bill, which Safelite wants to change, it thereby bullying customers, making bullying customers legal without any repercussions. The current insurance adjuster laws were developed to protect consumers and small businesses. It makes no sense to remove consumer protection for the benefit of one company. If all Safelite is doing is data entry, then the current laws would exclude them from being licensed anyways. This isn't about the big guy versus the little guy. This is about protecting Minnesota residents. More discussion may be needed in dealing with this. It's been going on for many years, but this bill is not the proper vehicle or place to do this issue any justice. If Safelite isn't adjusting claims, then there would be no need to change the law at all. However, they know they are adjusting claims, which is why they are sponsoring this language. So we would just like to ask you to remove the insurance adjuster language from this bill and protect consumer rights. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Sir, did you have additional testimony?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Todd Hill, you're up. And then on deck, we have Mr. Chris De La Forest. Welcome to the committee, sir. Please state your name for the record.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. For the record, my name is Todd Hill with Hill Capital Strategies, and I'm here on behalf of my client, Safelite Auto Glass. My client apologizes for not being here today, but came down with a case of pneumonia and was unable to fly and be here for this meeting. I'm here to thank the committee and the chairman for including the provisions from Representative Smith's bill, House File 1947, in the omnibus bill. It's Section 4, Article 8. I would ask you to oppose any efforts to take this language out of the omnibus bill. While the testimony of the Auto Glass Association was compelling, it really has nothing to do with the language that is in this bill today. Allegations of steering and unfair competition are not addressed by this language. This language is simply an effort by Safelite Auto Glass to reach a resolution with the Department of Commerce over the issue of adjusting. I'm sure many of you are well aware we've had a number of cases we've been litigating with the Department of Commerce over the course of the last 2 years. We recently were awarded a judgment in federal court and on a separate issue, and most recently have been dealing with this issue of adjusting. In 2002, the Department of Commerce investigated this issue, subpoenaed Safelite Auto Glass, and did a thorough investigation of whether or not we were actually adjusters in the process that we use. We are simply a third-party administrator for the insurance companies. And in 2002, the Department of Commerce came back and said, you're not adjusters, and we have operated with no changes since that time. 49 other states in the country don't view what we do as a third-party administrator as adjusting. This language simply is trying to clarify state law using language that the Department of Commerce brought forward in a situation with the administrative law judge recently, and just trying to clarify that exactly what we do as a third-party administrator is not adjusting a claim. It doesn't take away any consumer protection. It doesn't change how non-network shops can bill. Nothing changes in the way that we operate today. If this language is taken out, we will just continue to fight the Department of Commerce in the ALJ process. We do have an opinion from the ALJ that was very clear in the ALJ's opinion that what we do is not adjusting. And if the language was to come out of the bill, we'll continue to operate as a third-party administrator. We'll continue to go through the ALJ process and likely end up litigating this issue if the Department of Commerce continues to pursue this. But I just want to point out that the other issues that were brought up today are really irrelevant to the discussion about adjusting. This is just an effort by us to try and resolve an issue with the Department of Commerce, and we would ask that you not support an effort to take that language out of this bill.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Mr. De La Forest, you're up, and then on deck we have, it looks like Patrick Ness. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good morning. For the record, Chris De La Forest, representing SKB Environmental and their partner, Enerchem. I'm pleased to offer just some brief testimony, really in rebuttal to previous testimony from Republic Services regarding the waste to biofuels project proposed for Invergrove Heights. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, in overview, this project will actually employ $200 million in private investment, leveraging that $700,000 that was referred to. That will result in many thousands of hours of construction jobs on the site, as well as approximately 104 to 110 stay-behind jobs once the project is finished. Be clear, this is a waste to biofuels project, so clearly and proudly, the intent of this project is to divert waste from landfills to this project that will use a proprietary technology to turn that waste into biofuels like methanol and ethanol. And what is proprietary about it, in part, is that it will not combust this waste. It will not use a combustion process. More than that, to give you just a little bit of overview about what the public infrastructure piece of this is that This project, also in innovative fashion, will not use any natural water. As many of you know, converting anything into ethanol, for example, requires a lot of water. This project will use strictly effluent water from the Met Council. My clients have been in deep conversations with Met Council Environmental Services about how we are going to get an extension of the primary effluent pipe running through Dakota County in the Rosemount area, just a little bit north into my client's site, which is also a closed landfill, by the way, so that would be repurposed, thereby also increasing greatly, exponentially, we think, the tax base for the city of Inver Grove Heights at maybe about $1.5 million per year. I'd also apologize, Mr. Chairman, you members of the committee, this was not a bill. That was in part because of timing issues that we've been working with, specifically with Met Council, regarding what it might cost to do all this. And so I would just add for the record, Mr. Chairman, I know you're pressed for time. Of course, it's a will of the committee to ask questions. I'd be happy to answer, but I'm also pleased to meet with any member of the committee offline. And if you're interested, we'd like to take you to Edmonton. That's one final point I would make, is that this is not theoretical. This is not a process that exists only on a professor's desk somewhere. The city of Edmonton has a commercial scale project that Enerchem operates right now. In the near future, another facility will come online just outside Montreal. And so we're very excited that, at least in the United States, this could be the first project of its kind in the country. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Representative Thiessen.
Thanks. So what's the money for?
Mr. De La Forest.
So, Mr. Chairman and Representative Thiessen, primarily what the money is for is to get the extension from the effluent pipe that runs through Dakota County up to and into SKB's site in Inver Grove Heights.
Representative Thiessen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so is that going to be your property then, that pipe, or is it Met Council property?
Mr. De La Forest.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Thiessen, that's a good question. It could be either. That is something that will have to be worked out with Met Council and primarily attorneys. We have been in contact with our partners with Met Council, DEED, PCA to determine exactly how that works. Part of the timing issue here that we're dealing with is that the city of Inver Grove Heights is going to engage in a major reconstruction and utility realignment project very near the site, first quarter of 2018. And obviously, it is going to make taxpayers very unhappy in Inver Grove Heights if we ask to go back to rip up those streets later on to get this pipe in. So to be clear, what the timing issue is about specifically here is that section that would run through the city of Inver Grove Heights. Again, we're unfortunately dealing with some difficult timing issues between the city, Met Council, and ourselves.
Representative Thiessen, follow up?
No, I can talk to Chris.
All right, yeah, please follow up offline. Thank you for your testimony. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Up next, we have, looks like, trying to decipher my list here, Patrick Ness. Welcome to the committee. And then on deck, we have Ken Smith. Welcome to the committee, Mr. Ness. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. Patrick Ness with the Wilder Foundation. I'm here representing the Class Act Coalition, which is the group of pilot sites who worked on the rental assistance for families of homeless and highly mobile students, as well as the Homes for All Coalition, a group of 170 organizations across the state working to make sure every person has a place to call home. Want to thank the committee for inclusion of $4 million in one-time funding for the Class Act. This is and to specifically thank the co-authors on the committee, Representatives O'Neill, Baker, Fabian, Moran, Davney, Mayquade, Metza, Rarick, Thiessen, and Clark. The pilot launched on the ground in January of 2014 with 3 pilot sites. It has been a success both on housing indicators and on reducing chronic absenteeism for students who are in the program. You heard in committee from Arviance and Carnita, 2 parents whose families have been really given a launching pad for stability and success, both in the child's life and in the classroom, but also at home. I went up to Dilworth and heard from a mom, Lucy, who has 3 children. They were able to double up in a friend's home, but it was not a good situation. They spent all of their time either in school or at the park. She cooked their dinner in the park, made breakfast in the park. They would do their homework in the park in Dilworth, Minnesota. Looking forward, the original request was is $10 million in base funding. We've been grateful for 2 years or 2 bienniums of pilot. We have the results, we stand by those, and we feel like it's a good long-term investment for the state. Also want to lift up, in housing, there's a full continuum from prevention and street outreach to building affordable housing, and it all matters for kids. And so we need rental assistance. We also need to make sure we continue building housing. And so we would like to see that the Minnesota housing budget stay whole, including the challenge fund, and increase the Class Act. In closing, right before I got up, I was just reflecting, there are 2 situations happening right now. One is my first job out of college. I worked for Sharing and Caring Hands and Mary Jo Copeland, and every Monday morning at 10 a.m. right around now, families would line up seeking shelter, and the kids would be in front of us, and most we had to say no to because we were full every day. And then there's other kids in this state who woke up in their own apartment, or their own home, and they're at school, and they're focusing on learning to read and learning their math. And that is the difference in experience that you have before you. Thank you for your inclusion, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Ken Smith, and then on deck we'll have Mr. Rob Wolfington. Mr. Smith, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Ken Smith. I'm the CEO of District Energy St. Paul, and I am here today on behalf of the St. Paul Cogeneration in my capacity as a board member and of District Energy St. Paul, a thermal customer of St. Paul Cogeneration. We are commenting in opposition to language in House File 2209 that repeals the Minnesota statute section 216B 2424, also known as the biomass mandate. I agree with Chair Garofalo that it is important to have a conversation about the use of biomass in Minnesota. The Energy Information Agency reports that biomass is used to generate approximately 3% of all of Minnesota's electricity. Similarly, Xcel Energy reports on its website that about 3% of its power comes from biomass energy in all forms. That biomass includes clean woody biomass like St. Paul Cogeneration uses, and also refuse-derived fuel and other sources. While all forms of biomass are used to fuel a relatively small percentage of the total power generation in the state, it is also clearly an important resource that we have an abundance of, particularly in the form of wood. It is also a complex energy source with many facets and market drivers that need to be examined when considering the adjustment to policies, depending upon the kind of biomass it is, the source of it, and how it generates useful energy. St. Paul Cogeneration is the owner and operator of a 33-megawatt biomass-fired combined heat and power plant that was developed in response to the biomass mandate that resulted from the 1994 Prairie Island Agreement. After reaching agreement on the PPA in 1998, over $60 million of private investment was used to develop and construct the plant. There are 6 years left on the current PPA with Xcel Energy. As a combined heat and power plant, St. Paul Cogeneration generates both heat and electricity, and the plant combusts clean biomass to generate 25 megawatts of renewable electricity that is sold to Xcel, and renewable heat that is used to generate hot water for District Energy St. Paul district heating systems. Using the heat that is produced during the generation of electricity enables this plant to achieve efficiencies that are nearly twice that of standard power plants that only generate electricity. Many of the biomass plants do just that, generate just electricity. The plant that was also designed to operate much like a fossil fuel baseload facility with high reliability and availability and capacity factor. This is different than other renewables like wind and solar. St. Paul Cogeneration is integrated into the district energy system in downtown St. Paul that provides heating to over 31 million square feet. It is the largest hot water district energy system in North America. The heating customers are small to large and includes all of the downtown hospitals, the state capitol complex, and facilities of companies like Ecolab, Travelers, and Securian. As the primary source of thermal energy used by District Energy to heat 200 downtown buildings, St. Paul Cogeneration is considered critical infrastructure and crucial part of an integrated energy system serving the central business district. St. Paul Cogeneration's primary source of biomass is clean wood waste that results from severe storms, disease, including emerald ash borer, which we're seeing more of now, and tree trimmings. We combust approximately 270,000 tons of wood waste annually. Over the past 5 years, wood waste from over 115 communities in and around the Twin Cities metro was used to fuel the combined heat and power plant, and of that, the 16 counties in the greater MSP region accounted for approximately 82% of the locally derived wood waste. In the 1990s, the Twin Cities metro was challenged with finding an effective way to orderly dispose of substantial quantities of wood waste. That was one of the key reasons it was selected as a fuel source for St. Paul cogeneration when it was developed. Wood waste is and will continue to be a problem for the state and local governments. Cities and counties should also be concerned with this legislation, which would jeopardize a valuable resource for the safe and reliable disposal of the region's waste wood. We provide an important service to the communities that depend upon it. Removing it as an outlet for this material will cost local governments and businesses hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional costs to dispose of this material generated in the region. The local economic impact of the facility is substantial. In addition to providing thermal energy used to heat buildings in downtown St. Paul and helping local businesses and communities manage their wood waste, St. Paul Cogeneration currently puts approximately $15 million into the local economy in the form of jobs, contractors, and equipment. Additionally, the integrated energy system serving downtown St. Paul is globally recognized and has attracted many dignitaries, energy experts, and thousands of visitors from around the globe. Repealing the biomass mandate could have a serious impact on our current PPA and important services that the downtown St. Paul buildings and region depend on it to provide. Repealing the mandate would definitely impact our ability to have meaningful negotiations with Xcel Energy to amend or extend the PPA with terms that are mutually beneficial and more cost-effective, a conversation that SPC, St. Paul Cogeneration, has already begun with Xcel Energy. During this time of unprecedented change in the energy system, it is important to look at the role of all energy sources we have available to us as a state, including biomass, and the policies we are using to govern their use. We look forward to participating in such a conversation. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members, for the opportunity to share this testimony.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Wolfington, you're up, and then Mr. Tom Kuntz, you're on deck. Mr. Wolfington, welcome. Mayor, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Rob Wolfington. I serve as a city manager in Benson.
I stand corrected.
Benson is a community of 3,200. We are located in west central Minnesota. Benson is home to Benson Power, LLC, more commonly known as Fibromen. Benson Power is a 55 megawatt baseload power plant that combusts turkey litter and other clean vegetative biomasses as a fuel. Our community was alarmed to House File 759 when we learned that if the bill were to become law, it would allow Xcel Energy to buy out the Benson Power LLC contract and perhaps shutter the plant. Benson has embraced the plant. We've built our economy around the plant, and we've made substantial public improvements in support of the plant. Benson Power LLC employs 120 people if you include the direct plant operators, truck drivers, and fuel and fertilizer handlers. Those 120 folks have donated their youth to that plant. They've built their careers around the plant and are very nervous about its future. We're asking the community to carve out the Benson plant from the bill and allow the plant to find ways to improve its efficiency and satisfy the investments that the community have made over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Kuntz, Tom Kuntz, welcome to the committee. On deck members, we're going to see where we're at with time. We've got about 12 minutes before we have to be in session. Mr. Kuntz, Mayor, welcome to the committee. And also, please state your, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Yep, my name is Amanda Dewar, and I'm the Government Relations Representative for the Minnesota Municipal Utilities Association. I'm just going to provide some brief comments and turn it over to Mayor Kuntz. MMUA is very disappointed to see that this bill includes the wireless provider's proposal restricting municipalities' right-of-way management authority to achieve access to utility poles, streetlights, and other public assets for the siting of small cell facilities. At every committee stop, the bill author has noted that nobody likes this bill. That remains true today. He asked stakeholders to try to find peace in the valley. Yet the wireless providers walked away from the negotiations, which MMUA has been actively involved in. So we're here today with this controversial and potentially unsafe proposal in this omnibus bill. And though I haven't seen a copy of the handout that the providers referenced, I can assure you that I am testifying on the current language that is in the bill. I'll enumerate some of our concerns. The bill expressly prohibits local governments from adopting limitations on height, placement, and minimum separation distances, which is laid out under the National Electric Safety Code. The limitation of third-party contractors, which the counties reference, do the structural and engineering review of many of these facilities is problematic. And further, MMUA strongly opposes being tied to the FCC pole attachment formula, which municipalities are exempt from at the federal level. So with me today is Owatonna Mayor Tom Kuntz. He has the unique perspective of not only being an elected official, but before that, the general manager of Owatonna Public Utilities. So I'll turn it over to him to discuss the local authority and safety concerns in this bill.
Welcome to the committee, Mayor. Please state your name for the record.
Mr. Chair and committee members, my name is Tom Kuntz, Mayor of the City of Owatonna. As a city, all the rules and regulations that get put on by the state or by the federal government really come back down to the city to implement and to make sure they get directed the right direction. And with that, the City of Owatonna felt it was in its best interest to pass the resolution. And the resolution reads, Council approved of Resolution 22-17 opposing legislation that would severely limit local authority to manage small cell technology in public right-of-ways. The city has been informed that cities, private wireless and cellular service providers are pushing legislation that would allow unregulated access to public right-of-ways for installation of small cell wireless equipment and distribution antenna systems. This legislation would supersede existing zoning ordinances and comprehensive plans that have been in place for years. This legislation provides automatic approval that would not allow for cities to consider the effects of public health, safety, and aesthetics. Being a general manager, our public utilities is in the process of removing a lot of the distribution overhead lines and putting them underground, allowing somebody to come back in and put a pole where we've just removed all those poles without our permission, without our access, would not sit citizens very well. Another thing is with a permit process, I've had companies come in and put underground stuff in and not really clean up the area. If you have a permit, you can come back to the permit process and call that company up and say, this is your permit, you need to come repair the area that you've just put in. So I think it's in the best interest of the city and the cell phone providers to work together to find solutions. We're not against going to 5G. I think that's necessary for all cities in the state of Minnesota, but we are against having them have unlimited access to the right-of-ways without any approval.
Thank you for your testimony, members. If you heard like I did, there was the short warning sound that just went off for session. It's about to start. Representative O'Neill, did you have something quick that you wanted to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I do. And again, the testimony is not to the changes. And so one thing that you had mentioned specifically was the FCC pole attachment cost formula, which has been removed in the agreement. There's 23 additional changes and 5 past this, which I don't have, but if the testifiers in the room could please testify to the, and I don't even have the 5 past the 23, but it would definitely speed things up and not have redundant testimony that's irrelevant to the changes.
May I respond to that? At least
to the testifier.
At least in the language that is in the bill, the FCC pole attachment language is in that. I have not seen that agreement, and I have been involved in every negotiation, so if there's a list of 23 things, perhaps it's forthcoming in an amendment, but I assure you I'm speaking to the bill.
Representative O'Neill, you get the final word.
Just very quickly, I mean, I understand that you're speaking to the language in the bill itself, but there's 23 agreed upon provisions with 5 past this, which I don't have. That's what they just testified to. So instead of having testimony to the bill language, it would be helpful to have testimony to what the agreement was, so we don't waste time. That's all I want to say.
Thank you for your testimony. Members and member of the public, we are going to be recessing to the call of the chair. Approximately, I'm going to say 20 to 25 minutes after session concludes. With that, we stand in recess.